if it's all right, we're gonna bring this meeting to order. And I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. McCaleb, and he's gonna lead us in prayer and give us our prayer list.
All right, starting off, we have Miss Lisa Manning, teacher at GSS, as her mother passed away. We want to remember Danny Clare here at Central Office. He's starting some treatments. Bob Allen, he's a former employee of Michelle Allen's husband. Jessica Biggs, former employee, her husband has passed away. Joan Lewis, former employee, husband passed away. Hope Dillard's husband, Josh Dillard, started new treatments. The Taylor family, which is Joe's kinfolk, has a family member that passed away, Miss Peggy Taylor, that's Wayne's wife. And remember our students and faculty out for summer, their safety and health. And then we want to remember the passing of Miss Teresa Malone, that's Wayne Malone's wife, and I think he's the pastor at Rome Baptist. Is it Rome Baptist?
Rome
Yeah.
Baptist Church.
Is there any others that you want to add?
Remember my father, he's not been there in a while.
Okay. All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, God. I thank you for the chance to come before you and bring their requests, God. I pray for healing and for these family members that's lost loved ones, God. I pray for healing for Danny and the others that are seeking healing, God. I just pray, God, for that. And I pray for wisdom for this board. God, I just ask that we would just do what's right in your eyes. Change your hearts if we're not doing what's right, God. And I just ask you to do that for us. And thank you for what you've done for us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hope you've all had a chance to look over the board packet. We welcome everyone here tonight, or this afternoon. And again, a while ago, I asked that each one of you, when we do a roll call vote, that you will speak up. Miss Tracy's taken over this position, and she's not learned everybody's voice yet, so we'll give her a chance to get a little bit more familiar with who's who. So, saying that, I guess you've all had a chance to look at your consent items. Any questions about anything on the consent items?
Yes, sir. I want to
Yes,
pull
sir.
D.
You want to pull D?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir.
What is that, Tommy?
Jim Flowers.
Okay, anything else you want to pull? Do I have a motion to approve these consent items?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lewis? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, with the consent items, that's, you want, Mr. Manning will pull item D, which is permission to bid new floor for defeated elementary, Forks River Elementary, and Union Heights Elementary.
Yes, sir. And the only reason I want to pull this, is this not what this is, or is this just an
Yes,
estimate?
yes.
These are the bids for
Well, they're not bids, it's just an
Estimate.
estimate. Yeah.
the estimate. And I guess we need to decide which way you're going to go with this.
Well, that's the reason why I wanted him, I've heard the man speak, and I wanted David also, in case y'all have questions, because I know all three of them needed, because they're getting in bad shape. I know Mr. Lewis had asked about wood floors, and there's a difference in wood, and there's a difference in surfaces, and I think that's what the board needs to decide what, and that's what we wanted to explain to. We was gonna do it anyway, we had to pull it and explain the difference. There's not a lot of difference money-wise. I think seemed like what I checked, roughly 20,000 before, but the big thing is the ones are self-leveling and don't have the upkeep where the subs are better looking, you know what I mean? Just depends on.
So that was my point when I seen the wood floors. Now, you're a basketball coach, you know, wood floors are hard to keep up.
They are, and you're gonna, you know, and your wood floors, they have to be, to look right, you gotta redo them every year, and you got a 5 to 10 year deal, you gotta go light sand on them, redo yard work, and make them light. you have to have coverage, you know, for events. We think, and normally I've not heard anything, we thought we was gonna get all of them paid for on this infrastructure grant that we were pre-approved, because it was pre-approved in the grant. I'm not hearing anything on it right now, which hopefully it'll come through and we still get reimbursed on them all. We're hoping it won't cost us anything. But right now, it could cost us, because we not heard back. We got it approved for the grant initially, but now it's just died. We not heard anything about where it's at.
My concern, even before I seen this, was, and it looks like to me, in my opinion, this is my opinion, y'all got your own opinion, I would stay away from the wood floor.
What kind of floor?
The wooden floors like the high schools have and the middle schools got. I know some of them kind of would like to have the wooden floors, but for the upkeep purposes and the mats you gotta put down, and of course, I know we're gonna do PE in these gyms, and,
There's one other issue. The wood floor sets about 2.5 inches on top, or does the existing floors, so there's gonna be ramps up to the gym floor, handicap ramps up to it. And the goals will have to be, we'll get somebody in to take all the goals down and readjust them, they'll have to be raised up different, so the floor will fit.
but I mean, that was the only concern I
laid on
had.
top of the other floor.
It'll be set on top of the other floor.
We can't dig enough, can you, because it's got asbestos under it.
Well, I don't know what's under it, because that was long before my time, you know, what's
I
under
think
it.
that was the issue at Fort Tripp.
That's been a problem. We went back, we went up there and examined some of the cracks in it, and then I went backwards, and I hate to bring it up because kinfolk or something, but they ain't got anything to do with it. I went back, talked off to Roger, and why that floor
Yeah.
got that way to begin with years ago, and it's caused, just like the post office up there full of asbestos, couldn't do anything else.
It's sealed with that, what you're saying, that,
Yeah, and that's why.
now, I know, like Joe, like at Union Heights,
Yeah.
Union Heights floor out there is so bad, you lay a wall on it, it'll roll. It's got, it'll almost have to have, when we redone the high school up here when I was coaching, that even Mickey High School, that floor was so off, they like to never, if you remember, Dave, you got the runners, it took forever to get the runners right, because it was so wavy, and it got in a lot of expense. Union Heights, you can lay a wall in certain places and it'll roll. Actually, I would highly recommend it, those to make sure, that's a big city, but that self-levels, that surface does.
This price also includes them grinding the floors down and getting them level too. Because I know we got a situation at Defeated on one side all the way across it. Defeated's price is just a little bit higher, and that's the reason, because they're gonna have to do a lot more grinding of that concrete.
Has it got any warranty with it, David?
I don't know, I think it does say in here, I can't tell you exactly, but I think I read it, but I can't remember
What's the expected
exactly. But
lifespan?
it's several years.
How many? You just,
It's
Oh.
5 to 10 years, and I can't remember exactly what he told me right now, but it's.
This particular surface that's been put down, Tucker's Crossroad, is one of them that's got in it. The board wanted to go see it, I'm gonna go down and look at it. If anybody wants to ride down and look at it, you're welcome to do that with me or by yourself. But we've heard, they put a surface in there several years ago. Tennessee Tech, Monterey, I think of 2 schools off the top of my head, kind of similar to what's in them now. Had a lot of knee issues, it wasn't
Is
a
this
very
wood,
durable
Tommy?
floor, had a lot of problems.
That's
This
what I
is-
was gonna ask about the injuries, because those river floors.
Well, this is a different type surface than that.
Okay,
Yeah, that was before that was a lot of ACL injuries,
yeah,
and it hooked too good, you had too much traction on it. And,
okay.
but that's a different floor than that.
They told me this is what most of the gyms in Nashville and down in that area where the building these schools, this first one on your list is what all of put in.
And one reason that if we get approved on this, I think it will apply for ESSER because it's new surface area, and it's basically conducive to spread of diseases and viruses and all.
And that's all I had, Mr. Chairman. for that.
You want to make a motion?
I want to make a motion that we seek bids on consent item D.
Second. David, second. Any more discussion? All in favor? All superintendent's actions, I guess you've had a chance to look at all of that. Any questions of it? If not, we're gonna go to new business. This will be the TSBA policy recommendations. Do I have a motion on it?
Yes.
Lewis. Is that a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. McCallum. Any discussion? If not, Mr. Manning,
Yes.
Mr. Glover,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis,
Yes.
myself, yes. Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Apple,
Yes.
Mr. McCallum,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Consent item, let's get back over here a little bit further to the superintendent's action, new business, and we're going on to fuel bids. But excuse me, I'm getting off track here a little bit. Janitorial supplies.
Where we at?
Business
B. B with janitorial. I'm sorry, it's my fault, I'm a little off plumb today. Do I have a motion on that one?
So moved.
Second.
Apple Jones. Any discussion on it? If not, we'll have a roll call on that. Mr. McHale,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. Manning,
Yes.
Mr. Glover,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Mr. Jones. Yes. Mr. Allen.
Yes.
Okay, let's go on to item C, bid approval for paving at Morrisville Elementary School.
So moved. Second. Mr. Manning.
Manning. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Hey, Tom,
Yes, sir.
why are we just paving the car rider lane?
Why we just paving the car road lane?
Instead of the whole lot?
Because, well, we need to look at the lot.
Well, I mean, I'm just asking that question. You
The
know,
car right
I mean,
lane, as soon as you come around the corner there, where they've done some construction and stuff, it's eat up and it's got potholes in it.
Well, all of it's kind of ate up to me, honey. I just wonder why we got a mayor pumping out doing the whole thing.
Well,
I think eventually it will happen because with the new gym proposal coming in, the health facility proposal, we're gonna have to redo the parking. And then I think we're
That's
gonna
why.
tack
It's not
the rest of that
no,
in. Thank you.
It will be in, the architect talked to us about it, we talked about it, he said put it all in together, make the project better. That one lane is tore all to pieces before
Right.
even, it'll take you, I went over and put a bunch of quickcrete in last year.
Yeah.
It's a maintenance, not counting the construction.
and I know we're gonna have construction going through there with this new building, or these dump trucks coming through, is that how
They won't,
damage
they won't
that?
go through the car rider lane. The car rider lane starts at
That's the
the
first one you come
elementary,
around the right,
just right around through there to the
Yeah.
corner.
That one little lane, Tom?
That
Yeah.
won't be in
one
that.
lane.
They'll not be in that.
Huh?
It is.
They won't be across the car rider.
No, construction will go the other way. But the rest of the parking lot, I was assuming, would come into play when we have to do the excavation to the other new part of the parking lot.
That's my question, thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Okay, so have a roll call on that. Mr. Glover,
Yes.
Mr. Manning,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. McHale,
Yes.
Mr. Allen,
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go to item D, approval for the FY '23 voluntary pre-K grant award for 22-23. Do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Well, any discussion? If not, Mr. Manning,
Yes.
Mr. Taylor,
Yes.
Mr. McHale,
Yes.
Mr. Apple,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Glover,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Item E. I think I would, and if that's all right, everybody, we're gonna table item E for tonight. Have a discussion on it at a later time. So I'm pulling that one, and we'll do that later. We go on to item F. The TSSE membership dues for the Board of Education for 22-23. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
This will be a roll call. Mr. Lewis.
Yes.
Mr. Glover.
Yes.
Mr. Manning.
Yes.
Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Mr. McHale.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mr. Apple?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Okay. Item G. Tracy, if I get too fast, you just slow me down. Bid approval on diesel fuel. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
John? Mr. Apple?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Is it wise to buy this much fuel during the summer and speculating it may go down? I know you can guess it either way. It may jack up or it may go down, but could we get by with half of that and just speculate?
Well, I talked to Diane this morning, we had this discussion.
I know fuel's getting hard to get in some
It's
places.
hard to get, they're only locking it in for 24 hours on most cases.
And it's cheaper to get a full load of 7,500 gallons, especially when it comes out of Nashville. In fact, I'm going to top off after summer school to replenish with summer funds that we're reimbursed for. And most of the companies in Nashville won't even give me the time of day because I only need like 1,500 gallons. So with the condensation in the summer, with the cool mornings and the heat in the afternoon, if I don't keep those tanks full, they sweat. And then we have the water inside. So
how big?
We would have run out of fuel the last week of school with all the field trips. I had no choice but to top it back off.
So how big a tank have you got?
I have a 10,000 gallon tank, and when it gets down to between 8 inches in the foot, I can easily put 7,500 back in it. That puts me at that 8,500 to 9,000 threshold where we don't sweat, it can expand, evaporate, and I'm not going to pop the cork and lose the fuel. The most I've ever put in it at one time was 9,200.
You probably knew it, but I didn't. I would've thought it was the other way, the less it had in it. She said the more it had in it, the least amount of condensation. You said you hadn't had any condensation problems since you've been doing it that way, and before you had a mess, didn't you?
The older upright tank, we had issues and had to have it cleaned several times from the water condensation. This one gets stuck and checked for water all the time, and I've always been told to keep it topped off to keep it from sweating.
How do you get this locked in for the meeting, for our meeting tonight? How do they honor that they honor this price until you tell them we voted yes?
Do you want me to explain to them?
Not really, but I mean, are they gonna honor this price?
Okay, so Mr. Lewis, years ago, when we used to bid and take 2 or 3 days and the companies all worked with us and we went back and forth between Rankin Oil and Nixon Noller all the time and they worked with us. When I bid and included some of these other companies that the board asked me to do, that bid price is good for 24 hours. I send out the evening before and notify them that I plan to bid. I send them the actual bid 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. I accept those bids at 4:30. By the next morning, if I were to call somebody and say, hey, this one can't deliver, can you deliver? They don't have to honor that price. They're good for about a 24-hour period.
So they are honoring it for 24 hours?
Yes.
So how quick do we pay our bill once they deliver it? You know?
Just as quick as Amanda does. As soon as they send me the bill, I don't like things waiting. I have a little bit of a reputation in the payment department up there. As soon as that baby comes into me, I sign it off and send it out.
She brings it here, I signed it, goes to a man, and they cut her a check for it.
It's pretty quick.
Well, it may be a smart thing to get it. It could be hard to get by
So
fall.
the fuel you just okayed has been in my tank for 2 weeks. I bid it out on, and your letter's in there. If you look at the dates of the letter and the bid, they deliver the day after I bid. I accept that bid at 5 o'clock, and it's usually at our terminal between 12 and 3 the next day. So it's kind of weird because you approved my bid after we already have it in the tank. But there's no way that I could wait to a board meeting, get the approval, call back and say, hey, I need fuel. We'd have buses sitting several days without it.
Anything else, anybody?
Yeah, Ms. Diane.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for being so efficient and everything. I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
I do.
Okay, anything else, anybody? If not, roll call, Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Glover?
Yes.
Mr. Manning?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. McHale?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Apple?
Yes, sir.
Yes. New item, special education therapy services agreement. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Yes, sir.
Any discussion? Not, we'll have a roll call. Mr. Apple?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. McHale?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Manning?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Glover?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes.
Myself, yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
you probably need a motion on item E if you're gonna table it. Just, you can make it.
Okay, I'm
Just need a
gonna,
motion.
okay, well, I'm gonna make the motion that we table item E. Do I have a second? Okay, Mr. Allen seconded. All, any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Next thing, is the evaluation of the director of schools. Not much to say about it.
I know, scored.
He, I would say that, Mark,
Go ahead, John.
I know I will. He got, he didn't get perfect scores, but he got real good scores from all board members. You know, that's about all I can say, that, nobody really has any kind of problems with director. And I know that if they do, they always pick up the phone and call him, and he tries to work things out for you. And I know he's trying to do the best he can, and that's all any of us can do. That being said, anyone else would
Yes.
like to add to that?
I do.
Mr. Lewis?
We, from my personal, discussions with him, which are basically daily, is that pretty close, Mary? Almost daily, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, you and I have conversations on it into the night. Irregardless, no one has any idea how much this man accomplishes, but if you look at the bottom line of our fund balance, where it is right now and where it was when he took this job, and the projects that we've accomplished since then, I mean, he does a lot of things. He won't take credit for it, but he works hard in the school system. And if any board member has a question, or the public or whatever, if they're not getting the answer, it's because they're not calling him. He and I are on the phone every morning, almost before 8 o'clock in the morning, almost every day. And sometimes on up till 9, 10 o'clock at night. I think pretty accurate, all the time. And he's always got an answer. If he ain't got it, he gets it back. He is worth more than every nickel that we pay him when you look at what he's accomplished. And if you take his accomplishments out of it, and if we hadn't, turned a shovel of dirt, if we hadn't done anything, if hadn't been raises, nothing else, if you just look at nothing except that fund balance of what he has worked and saved for the school system by attaining grant money for projects and things like that, where it was when he took that job and where it is right now, he's worth more than every penny of what we pay him. Deserves every bit of it. I appreciate everything you do.
And I want to say this, guys, the board is what you entitle me and you empower me and you support me. I've got a fantastic board. I wouldn't be here if you wanted me if I didn't think that, and I mean that. I don't think there's a person sitting on this board that didn't have the children at heart, at your heart, and that's all that matters. The rest of it works itself out. And I appreciate your support, and I'm here, I work for you, so if you need anything, please let me know and I'll try to make it right.
Anything else?
I'd just like to say, I think Mr. Smith does a fantastic job also. And I've been on the board, and I know where our fund balance used to be, and I know where it's at now. So thank you, Mr. Smith, and I think you're doing a really good job.
Well, let me, this diesel's got me. I called Diane this morning, I've not slept, this fuel and these prices are, I don't know how long, I hope we can keep fighting.
Did we, just off the wall here, I don't know, did we budget enough for fuel?
Well, I think we're good right now. That don't break or bust, yeah. We've done that, you remember, I don't think I was on in this position yet when that fuel year get real high. I kind of budgeted based on that in case, and this year it's going,
And we have
it's going to
plenty,
eat it, probably.
plenty of toilet paper.
Huh?
Yeah.
Plenty of toilet paper.
Yeah. Thank goodness. We bought enough toilet paper on the deal that we dated off for all next year, so.
We got one.
Might not tell that might be a pretty tough commodity to get hold of here.
For diesel fuel, we put in $247,000.
I mean, right now, I'm looking at, when I bid to top it off, I'm looking at around $479 from the few people I called and said, hey, if I bid today, give me a ballpark of where it's at. So, but that's better than a bus that just went out of state and had to pay $6.25 a gallon to get home.
Anything else, anybody? Not, let's go on to discussion B, school safety.
I guess y'all have got a lot of, I've talked to, I know, looking around 3 or 4 or 5 board members that has asked me about this already, that's got phone calls. We have the luxury, I had 4 or 5 either existing officers or have been officers, which is a big plus. I've been in school safety pretty much my whole career. I wouldn't call it a privilege. I had a unique opportunity. The first, I don't even want to give credit for what it was, but the first school incident I was really aware of several years ago after Jobs County, Tennessee. And there was a lady that was from the county over from me, and an elderly lady that got killed in that deal. And the assistant principal that day was actually the target. And I got to meet him and sit through several things and study him, and it's heart-wrenching to hear what him speak and what he went through, because they came in that day to get him. They were after him, and he heard it, and I'm going to talk, and I'm going to talk vague, and I'm going to talk in abstract, because obviously, like Mr. Shoulders and I talked, if we're playing football Friday night, I'm not going to give you the game plan, so we're not going to put. And I talked to the sheriff, and he's been very instrumental, yesterday, in talking to us, the school system, and Jamie, I think going from city council, usually other than that, they really talked in depth about some stuff, and but we are going to work. Sheriff and I are going to sit down, and Mr. Jason Stewart's going to sit down, and some of you all have some concerns about, some individually schools and SROs and some things going on. We're going to sit and talk about those things. I would encourage you to come in. I know some of you got concerns with your individual schools, but nothing more than just a geographic location. And I think they're very, very heightened concerns. We have a safety plan that in boxes located in certain areas. It's got frequency radios, keys, plans, roll calls, rolls of the particular classes. We are looking at installing, that's what I wanted the sheriff's opinion on. We're looking at some possible metal detectors and different deterrents, some individual metal type things. We're going to look at our egress and egress points, funneling where people come in and are allowed to come out of, which will help. Forced areas of entry. So in other words, we want to know how you can get in and out. We're going to get pretty strict on our teachers. I said most of us in here, I've talked to my boys to open the door for people and this and that. We're going to have to think different than we have in the past. I talked to my youngest son about, you may know Mr. Doe, but you can't let him in till he goes to the right door, and it's going to put you in, and we probably need to educate them from sounds and arguments and height and voice pitches and that kind of thing. We need to look at, I was at a Father's Day Sunday, I was looking at a particular school system in Kentucky, and where they put some concrete barricade blocks up that were attractive. They just put them around the edge of the playground where a car couldn't accidentally or come through the playgrounds. We got a couple of schools that sit right on the road. We probably need to look at cables or gates after hours. We need to make it very accessible for teachers. It won't work, but we also don't need after hours vehicles that we don't know what's in the vehicles and that kind of thing. We do need to look at getting a lot more training, like I said, for staff, for teachers. I've had, there was a bill at the House like 2 years ago about training teachers and arming teachers on the safety plan. It failed. They did end up putting 2 counties in on it, and that is something I think that might come back up, but that's not legal now, okay? And that's not to say we couldn't train a safety team without firearms, or, try to be something to look at. a compliment, we did rank a few years ago, it's a publication, we were ranked the 9th safest system, I don't know what they based it off of in the southeast. The lady that came up and spoke 2 years ago, Homeland Security, said we had the best camera system that she'd ever seen in a school system in the country, which cost us really nothing. We got all on grants. We need to keep improving. We need to get, public opinion. Some of you live here and been around certain schools more than others their whole life. Your best security you have is your personnel. Alerting, seeing things that's out of whack, and knowing who's upset or who's out of place. And like I said, I would love to sit down with y'all individually and talk. Like I said, I don't want to get much more in depth with that, obviously being on camera. I just want people to feel secure and safe in what we're doing, knowing we've got a lot going on. So, I'd be happy to answer what I can.
He and I have talked about several different things, and one of the things is either putting gates or cables across the driveways in the school, because nobody has any reason to be on school property after hours. No reason for it. And that's just like the other night, I came from Chestnut Mound at 9 o'clock at night, and there was an automobile sitting at Fort Worth School. No reason for that. First of all, there's no school. Second of all, there's no reason for that car to be sitting there. And with this security, I mean, anybody could drive a vehicle up there loaded with fertilizer and whatever you build a bomb out of and leave it, and next morning set it off when kids were coming into school. I mean, I know it's bad to look at that this time in life, but I mean, that's what it's come to. That's what it's all come to. And I really agree with him on everything he's come up with.
Some of y'all said that Christy, I know you did Gina, I don't know if you was at Bonnie, but the little thing I done 2 years ago at the in-service, more than likely, that's the reason we need to be very aware. It's going to be people that we know, we got to be careful on who we let indoors. We're going to be careful if somebody's acting out of character that day, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's how we got to retrain our children to think too. And we got to learn what we're looking for. And like I said, we got a lot of experience sitting up here. We're doing a lot of good things. We're hoping to do a lot more. And like I said, if you want to come and sit down with me, we'll talk more about not only your individual school, but what's going on across the system.
And you all may believe that, hey, this is not going to happen in Carthage or any mechanic school system that's out there, but I mean, it's there. I mean, this past weekend, when the churches here in town had a little incident happen that was kind of unnerving to a lot of people. Nothing happened, but it was something that was not out of the, it was way out of the ordinary. And I mean, stuff like that's happening all the time, so.
Well, I think one thing that's shown in research is it hasn't been discriminatory. It's been affluent, high income, low income. It hasn't ranged on race. It's been, you don't know where it's going to come from. That's the reason we have to be very aware and have a lot of awareness going forward.
Anything else from anybody?
So what's the plans, Rick, on just following up that I've had several calls at my school at New Middleton about some just concerns. People are very concerned about it being a target off the interstate. It's so easy to get to and so easy to get away from.
Well, and there's no doubt that we have certain schools that are obviously in heightened areas because just of different routes and routes and
One being the concrete barriers around
and the cables and the entrances and the egress and the degresses.
Yeah.
And the scenic value of police officers. That's one thing that, when we talk to the sheriff, he's going to probably talk to us about, changing patrol times. You don't want to get locked in. You're there at 7:30 or 9 o'clock, exactly when the police car's coming through. Our SROs, for the most part, are doing a fantastic job. Some of them better than others that are really good at being seen at any time of the day, checking doors.
Ours is exceptional. At Forks River, ours is for
Yeah,
River is
I read it,
exceptional.
and,
And then plus you've got other things that
that we're
can't be
not-
discussed.
Yeah, that
That
you
can- I
wanna
mean,
come and sit in the office, we'll get
He
detailed.
can give you details, but he's got a lot of things in play that he will, that doesn't need to be announced over, because we're being broadcast all over the United States, so we
Right.
don't need that. Those things don't need to be, but if you have questions, or any board member have questions, come in, sit down and talk with him, and he can give you more of a plan of what he's
And,
got in
and I
mind.
think the sheriff, not speaking for him, but I think he would more than welcome when we meet, if you want to talk about the individual school, the
Right.
concerns and the
Right.
parental concerns you've had. And we're, like I said, we're hopefully sooner than later, we're gonna do that with Officer Stewart, in charge of the SROs. And the sheriff, like I said, I talked to the sheriff a pretty good while yesterday, and we're on the same page, he's got some good ideas.
Okay.
So, anything else, anybody? If not, let's go on discussion on the bus garage property. You got something?
I don't, I guess I've got two suggestions. I wouldn't do anything right now, but it would be great to do something. And with that being said, the reason we're not, we can't get anybody, we don't have any place right now to store stuff at. We can't get anybody to come in and build buildings to give you an idea of what it's gonna cost. We can't even get back return phone calls. You know, hopefully that'll change, but, and I know the church won't do something down there, and, you know, but I can't give you a number because I can't get you back to give me a bid on anything.
So we're looking for storage options right now?
Well, what we were talking about, you know, was taking that money and, or monies and put toward building a building out here for storage, you know, on the same campus here. But we can't get an idea, like it's, everybody's so backlogged, we can't get them to come in and give us a number, a ballpark number, what it costs to put something in, so we know how to price this piece of property. Which if we had plenty of storage, we could sell that and go ahead if y'all still do that. But right now, we don't, I can't start to give you a number in this.
Well, we can't get into a situation to where we sell.
Where to put it.
Well, first of all, I know where to do it, but turn right around and put a price on a piece of property at X amount of dollars, and then when we finally get to the point of building, it's gonna be a third more than that. You know, I can't see spending that kind of money. In other words, to do, I'm thinking when you swap dollar for dollar, if we're gonna do this thing, because it's not really, which is gonna help us by getting a new facility and stuff, but in turn, it's helping them, so I can't see spending any extra money for building a building until.
And if we had another warehouse or building that we could put our stuff in while we were waiting, that'd be fine, but we don't. Like I said, we've done bought enough, you know, toiletries and stuff like that to last not only the rest of this past year, but all of next year, so it takes a pretty good sized place to do that.
Well, Mr. Smith, Mr. Glover raised the last time, there's really, in that area, there's 3 parcels of land that are pretty critical. There's the bus garage that's being used, there's the old bus garage that's an issue here, and then there's a piece of land back behind it that they use to travel. And the old building that's in discussion here, title's clear, there's no problem, there's deed, no issue. Mr. Glover was particularly interested in the boundaries as to what was there and what wasn't. That's gonna take a survey. There's no way you can tell from the deeds that what's there and what's not. So, the board wants that, we need to probably get on this now. Because surveyors are behind, but it would take a survey to figure out what exactly the boundary lines are behind it.
That's
Sell it,
why.
we have to have survey anyway, correct?
You don't have to, but I'd advise.
I'd say
You
we
don't have to,
could.
but you.
Just an opinion, you're probably gonna get into issues. The church could be part on us and we could be part, it's probably a trade-off, but that's really, it would be good for everybody and everybody's in agreement, that, you know, as far as the church and us, would be good to get it, to clean it up, you know what I mean? Be done with it, but until we find somewhere to, and a price, we don't kinda hook, do you know what I mean? And we'll keep working to try to get us a bid, you know, get us.
Well, I think there's a drive that goes back behind that one property into the That's the part I was concerned about, because we use that drive for the buses,
That's what
correct?
goes over the other parcel. Yes.
So if we sell this property, will that right of way be gone?
We would never let it go. You'd have
So,
to.
You wouldn't even have to, we looked at, we don't even think you'd have to move the fence, you know.
okay,
And then there's some property, the property in the back is another issue that, it's the third and fourth party
yeah,
We
on the
want
river.
40 by 60, 40 by 70 build,
Yeah.
concrete pole.
Well, like this, you put it right there, and then you'd already pretty much hit the dirt board running from the bottom. If you get something forward, you put your, got your storage stuff on the bottom end, you come right across the top, you're on the front, right into it, without,
You want finished insulated on the inside, or
this warehouse type, this
just
stuff.
steel wheel?
Oh, you don't see like the pole barn type. We don't want it to look nice, I mean,
Any more discussion about bus cars property, making another question? If not, do you have, executive session? Okay, annual board policy for May, I hope you've all had time to review that. And if not, our next board meeting will be Tuesday, July the 19th. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wecker, if I'm out of order, you'll let me know, but I have a question for the director. It doesn't require a vote or anything, but if I need to do it, I can ask to suspend the rules or something, but I just have a question. Mr. Director, would you look at, I want to know if you'd look at something for me, and it's insignificant and money-wise, you know what I mean? I'm not asking to spend money before I say anything here, so. Just, you know, sometimes you can't do big things, but sometimes you can do a lot of little things that add up to big things. The economy's kind of hard on everybody right now. I'd like to know if it's possible to either provide our lunches for our employees at zero cost, or maybe just $1. I know they pay, what is it, $3.50 a meal? Those that eat, is that right? $3.50?
it's,
Say that one more time.
It was, this current year was $3.25.
she's going up
But
to
it's gonna
three
go up.
fifty, I think, it's going up to 350.
Well, could you explore that and give me some answers to that? I'd love to know if there's a way,
Now, you need to clarify all employees, that's every.
I mean, every
talking
single
Bus drivers,
driver, I don't care.
custodians.
Yes, sir. If they work
Everybody.
for the school system, I'm talking about every single person.
Person.
I'd like to know if we could provide them, their meals for free. And if not, could we do it for $1? I mean, that's not a lot of money, but I mean, it's $140, $150 a month per person, you know, if they take advantage of it. I mean, they may
Then I want.
not want to, but I'm just saying, if you could explore that, I'd love to know if we could.
But there's no restitution on the backside. In other words, if you choose not to do that, you just lose that.
Well,
I'm just asking.
I mean, I know that it's a federal program, so she couldn't just do it, it'd have to be,
I understand.
but it might be an issue that if she wanted to do it at cost, that we might work out something at cost.
Well,
you know,
It's just, again,
I'll
I'm
get
just
some
trying to
options.
think of outside the box of small things that we can do that might add up into larger, you know, in the grand scheme of things, just to
Just to help the employees.
help the employees, all of them, not just the teachers, but the bus drivers and everybody else. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, I'd appreciate it.
Anybody else? Chris Payne?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I got a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Ah.
Opposed?
No.